my talk probably changed, I don't know, like 4 times today, including the slide that I had for it, because I just kept thinking, this is what wants to come up. This is what wants to come up. And then there was a point for several hours where I'm like, I have no idea what I want to talk about today. I have no idea what wants to be shared today because I'm feeling so discombobulated with a couple of things that are going on for me. And then supporting people with how they're feeling about what now happened in the US election. And so here at VTC, we are considered a new thought community. And whether we talk about science of mind principles or we talk about unity principles, divine science, it really doesn't matter because it's pretty much the same thing that we're talking about, just slightly different terminology. And it basically comes down to there's one thing going on, call it whatever it is that works for you. Everyone and everything is that, and we create our reality according to how we use our mind. And I like to add how we open our heart. And so we create our reality according to what it is that we choose to focus on, where it is that we choose to put our attention. And even knowing that, and even after 7+ years of consciousness studies and being a minister and being a licensed spiritual practitioner and supporting other people in shifting perspective and choosing something different to focus on so that they can create a different life experience for themselves and feel better about themselves and about life, there are still periods of time for me where it's challenging. And these last few weeks have been challenging. So I have to say that in the midst of all of that was the Intuitive Arts Festival this past weekend. And we were there, including some helpers from the community, thank you. And it was such a delight and such a joy to talk to people and connect with people and meet new people. Speaking of, we have someone here brand new who's here today because we met at the Intuitive Arts Festival. Welcome. And then we have people that we met there last year who are here, which is super exciting too. And so in that space and in that incredible, amazing opportunity to connect with the new was just so much joy and so much love and so much positivity, which was great because on either side of it, it just kind of felt heavy for me. And so today I was really sitting in this, and at one point I even talked to Glenn, my husband, and just said, I don't know what I'm going to talk about because I'm in the middle of stuff. And if there's one big rule that we are taught when we go into ministerial studies is don't work your shit out from the podium. And so we are taught to speak from the scar and not the wound, right? You know, here are the insights that I gained going through this kind of stuff. And so for me, still being in the thick of some of this, it's like, ugh, this is uncomfortable. So how cool it was that you guys just played that song, you know, which isn't necessarily about that, but those 3 words, you know, bewitched, bothered, and bewildered. Well, man, I have been so bewitched about the collective consciousness of what is going on and just sort of fascinated and pulled in and wondering, why are people so wrapped up about this? Why is it creating so much darkness and so much negativity in so many people? When if you look at the election results that happened in the States yesterday, you know, half of the country thought that this was a good idea. And when we sort of, you know, strip away all of the ideas and all of the choices, these are people making these choices, people who have families, people who want to have a roof over their head and put food on the table and have a job and feel good about life. Like that's what a lot of us want, right? And yet when ideas come into play, then all of a sudden people are their ideas and they're different from what I believe. And oh my gosh, how can we possibly ever get along? And because so much of that was happening south of the border, it actually reminded me and stirred up in me a lot of memories about what COVID was like here and how there was a good long time where I just thought, oh my gosh, this country is going to hell in a handbasket, including our province, and I don't know if I want to stay here for this anymore. And yet, here we are, because we made a choice. A conscious choice to go, even though all of this stuff is going on, I know that there is that in me. We're going to call it power. There is that power in me that is bigger and more creative and more profound, that is more resilient, that is pure essential love. And that transcends everything. So it doesn't matter so much what it is that is going on around me. It's how I choose to respond to what is going on around me. It's not the stuff, it's what I think about the stuff. And so this is when it got really important for me in the last few weeks, in the last few days especially, to use my tools so that I could shift my focus onto something that I wanted to feel rather than feeling bewitched, bothered, and bewildered about what it is that I was feeling and being so frustrated and annoyed that that's what I was choosing to feel. So today when I was asking Glenn for some help, he brought out my favorite book, The Alchemist. I don't know how many times I've read this book. Every summer, 2 to 3 times for sure. And so it's not summer, so I haven't picked it up in a while. But he showed me a page, which I have a whole bunch of underlining here. And so I just wanted to read some of it because to me, it really, really talks about what the affirmation of the month is, about how the point of power of our life is in the present moment. And so in this scene, there's a camel driver of the caravan that is talking to a fortune teller and asking about the future versus the past versus the present. And, he wants to know so that he knows what's coming up. But the fortune teller has some wise words to tell him. So he says, when people consult me, it's not that I'm reading the future, I am guessing at the future. The future belongs to God. And it is only He who reveals it under extraordinary circumstances. The important part here to note is, the secret here is in the present. If you pay attention to the present, you can improve upon it. And if you improve upon the present, what comes later will also be better. And so this is exactly what I really want to lean into this month. That the only true moment of creativity, the only point of power is right here, right now. Because unless we are fully present in this moment right here, right now, we're either being pulled into some kind of memory that we're associating with, or we're being pulled into a possibility that may or may not happen in the future. Where we have the real power, where the power that we are lies, is in the present. And it's up to us. Every single moment we get to choose. Every single moment we get to decide, am I going to focus on right here, right now? Or am I going to allow myself to get dragged into the past, into a memory, into something that was so alluring and familiar that that's what I'm going to sink into? Or am I going to create anxiety about something that hasn't and maybe won't even happen in the future? What do I want to feel? What do I want to experience? I want to be present. I want to be right here, right now. But sometimes it can be really, really challenging to do that, because if we are stuck in the limbic part of our brain, which is associated with anxiety and overwhelm and negativity and all of the negative emotions, it can be really challenging to get out of that part of the brain into a different part of the brain so that we can actually be present. And so that's when it gets really, really important to get into our body. So whether it is focusing on the breath, like we were doing before we were meditating today, whether it is actually doing something tactile so that we can actually feel and just really, really lean into what are we sensing with that physical sensation of touch, whether it is tuning into something that we can hear, something that is barely audible in the distance, or the sound that is the closest to us, whether it is something that we can taste and just sort of swirl around in our mouth and really feel the texture. All of those little mindful practices are opportunities to be fully present to what is happening right here, right now. And when we become fully present, then we can make choices that are more in alignment with the truth of who and what we are. And so the talk title for tonight is Be Here Now. And when I was looking for a photo, I don't know what I was looking for, but this is the one that popped out at me, not just because it's yellow, because it's a sign. And how many times do we sort of like look for signs or get tripped up by signs or get distracted by signs? And so here I thought, be here now. There's no missing that, right? But we get distracted all the time. We get pulled out of the present moment all the time. And so it's important for us to have these little signs or these little reminders around us. And as I was putting on my jewelry today, I was remembering that, oh yeah, this band that I'm wearing on my right hand, it's from the affiliated New Thought Network conference that I was at last month. And it's reminding me that I'm open to boundlessness. And it's about next level consciousness. I have this little copper bracelet that I got there too that says, I am love. So I look at this and I'm like, there's a reminder. I made a sticker that was supposed to be for the Intuitive Arts Festival, but they didn't come in time. But I have it on my water bottle now, and to remember to breathe and to love, or to breathe love, or to breathe and call myself love, right? And this coming together here as a community, this is another reminder. So whatever it is that you need to do to set yourself up to be reminded that you are infinitely more powerful, creative, and resilient than anything you could ever think, believe, or feel, than anything you could ever experience, it's up to you to do it. Because you know what? There isn't necessarily someone around to do it for us, right? Okay, so the point of power of my life is right here, right now. That is the affirmation that we're leaning into this month. And with that affirmation, I invite you to also lean into whatever discomfort and discombobulation there might be, because that's all part of being present too. It's not just about glossing over and just going, oh, I'm bigger and more powerful than that, whoosh, sweep it under the carpet. No, there's good information coming up sometimes when we are bewitched, bothered, and bewildered, and it's worth paying attention to, because if we don't grow, right? We just close ourselves down, we end up playing small, and then we still have whatever it is that's niggling away at us for some tender loving care, some attention. It's still there, and at some point it'll erupt at the most inopportune time, maybe out of proportion to whatever it is that's going on around us. So being present to what is, embracing everything that is coming up, knowing that all of it wants to be attended to, and that it's up to us to pay that attention. So in the song, Step Into Your Power, the lyrics go, all you need you already own. It was given to you on the day that you were born. Step on up, step into your power. So many times we look outside of ourselves for help. So many times we look outside of ourselves to try and get fixed. There's nothing broken. There is nothing about us that has to be fixed. When we tune into the power that we truly are, when we remember that we are wholeness personified, that we are allness expressing, that we are infinite creativity, resilience, and love in action every moment of every day, even the most challenging of times, challenging of situations, challenging of people become easier to navigate, because we're navigating as the power we are, rather than from all the challenges that we might be experiencing. So in the book again, the secret is in the present. If you pay attention to the present, you can improve upon it. If you improve on the present, what comes later will also be better. Simplified, what Paulo Coelho is writing in The Alchemist is, what we focus on expands. So what do you want to focus on? What do you want to create more of with the attention that you're paying? The choice is always, always up to you. And so if you want to improve upon the present, the most important thing that you can do is be here now. Thank you, and so it is.